Bro, you hear me? There you go. There you go. That was Mr. Tadeo Peter side. I don't think it's possible to state the matter more eloquently than that. And I have to give Mr. Peter side his respect for his
Mhm,
candor, for his courage
mhm.
in being able to do what elder statesmen should do, which is to speak the truth at a time when things are tough. I think it's Dr. Martin Luther King that said that the darkest corner of hell is reserved for men who keep quiet at times of grave moral wrong. Okay? And I think you have to acknowledge and appreciate and respect that courage and to say
Yep.
to the very heart of it, Oga, this June 12 matter, he did not try at all.
Mm.
Every time you talk about it, you shift the goalpost a bit. So where does the truth actually lie? Oga, now you are blaming people who are dead and cannot defend themselves. But what about those who are still alive? Why not let those ones speak up and let those ones defend themselves? And Oga, why are you doing it in this atmosphere? If you are truly trying to get something off your chest, then why is it a celebration? And then to the rest of Nigeria, what is wrong with you people? At a time when people are struggling financially, you are throwing billions of naira at this guy. At this guy. Oga. And then he says, for posterity. How will posterity judge us?
George.
If those
Yeah.
of us who are above 65, who should know better, i.e., the grandfathers of the nation, the grandfathers and great grandfathers of the nation, what are we doing?
Yeah.
If we're not telling ourselves the truth, because what we're doing now is we're whitewashing the past, we're celebrating a thing that we should actually be covering our heads in shame about. We're now whitewashing this dark period in our history. What are we
Mm.
going to tell our children? It's not right now.
Mm.
It's just not right.
So
I mean,
look.
but go on, go on.
No, go on, go on, go on.
Sorry, I feel a bit strongly about it because
I know. No, no. Talk. That's why we're here. Talk your
and then
talk, man.
schools were shut. Like the entire economy of a country was shut down.
People
People
protesting.
fled into exile as
Huh?
a direct consequence of these actions. Some
Hmm.
people were forced to leave their homes and their families behind. And some people lost their parents. People lost their children. Some families have still not recovered. And then we throw billions at you. Really?
17 billa.
Really? What's that in dollars? $10
I don't
million?
know what's it called.
11,
Maybe.
$12 million?
Yeah, something like that.
Does he need the money? There's a pension for former heads of state. I'm sure he gets his pension.
Hmm.
So why did we go? And then why did people who were part of this struggle, why did they then go and sit down and celebrate him?
Yeah.
Why?
Disappointing.
Why? Why didn't the people who are running democracy right now say, "Ga, you and your military people can go and have your party"? But we as a people are going to say, no, we're not going to honor you. We're simply not going to honor you. Does that mean that if IBB dies tomorrow, they're going to have a state funeral for him?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
State funeral. Why? And then he's talking about service. He said, we overthrew Buhari and the Diagwa because they were holier than thou. Okay. I feel like some things are just coming out here without, like, you're not even weighing it. I overthrew my boss because he was holier than thou. So that tells you something. I don't know. I don't think our politicians, I don't think our political class should have been there. They shouldn't have. They legitimized IBB.
Yeah.
They basically whitewashed him. And people who don't know his history are not saying, who is IBB? The young kids are asking, who's IBB? Because
Yeah.
all they
People in their 20s. Yeah.
our president being celebrated, so that should be stoning. And they come and Jokutafun. Go wrong now. I just remember 1994. We had just finished secondary school, and we were at home. And I remember people were on the streets protesting. People were killed. People were shot. And the whole economy shut down. There was no food. There was no market. You couldn't buy anything. It was you first occupied Nigeria before there was an occupied Nigeria. I mean, come on, man. And then we go on to 17 billion naira team. Why? And like Mr. Peterside said, there are Nigerians who are starving. That's 17 billion naira. Look, IBB give them money back.
Yeah.
Put them in a trust or something. Give the Abiola children that money. Or set up some sort of trust to benefit democracy.
Yeah.
And don't name it after yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. Don't name it after yourself. Name it after Humphrey Nwosu and MK Abiola.
Yeah.
Call it the Nwosu Abiola Center for Democracy. Something. It's the least we can do. Sorry, I'm angry.
No, allow me.
It would be nice to know what you think about this. We don't have to end the conversation today. If you have anything to say, let us know your comments. Send us an email. Oh, you know what? You want to be part of this? You want to be part of the rejoinder? We can have a follow-up to this show tomorrow. Just send us a message. Say, I want to be part of the show. Come and offer us your opinion. As many people as possible want to have an opinion about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk June 12th. And sorry, we don't teach history in school anymore.
Why? That that should be a whole new video.
It should be. It should be.
Why?
It should be. Because like the late great Babali said, if you know your history, you know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And if you know where you're coming from, it's easier to know where you're trying to get to, right?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, I don't know, this madness we're getting, where you don't teach history. And there's no doubt it's because people are uncomfortable with history. And we need to have a conscious, and that's an idea, a conscious effort. You know, the way Wikipedia is the encyclopedia for the world, the free encyclopedia for the world.
Yeah.
I think we need to have a Nigerian history archive, right? That's independently curated and puts together all of this history. I mean, the internet is great, but I feel like we need to have like a library, a June 12 library
of all this information. Yeah.
Yes. With videos and film and articles and books, everything from that period curated and stored in a facility where we can always go back to it so that we can always refer to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because look, the next generation is going to forget. Yeah. And we mustn't forget. We mustn't forget. How do you feel about everything? What were your own thoughts on the party, on the celebration, on the event?
Well, the event, I still want to talk about the annulment first, then I'll go to the party.
Okay, let's go.
So, guys, you heard Lami's very passionate views on this topic. The book launch, particularly the book, the way it was done, the people who graced the occasion, everything about it, right? Everything about it. So I have my own story too. I was a part of that world in terms of I was in secondary school when this happened, and we saw the protests. We saw people that were really, really passionate for change, and they thought that this was it. Don't forget that this same IBB had postponed a couple of elections. Don't forget that this same IBB banned and unbanned politicians and postponed elections. And we thought, okay, this time, this Hope 93, it was either going to be Tofa or Abiola. And Abiola won. Abiola won. He was accepted in the north. He was accepted in the south, right? Why did IBB annul the June 12th election? What did he say to us? He claimed that the election was flawed due to irregularities. He said he annulled it to prevent chaos. He suggested that the military was not ready to step down. These excuses do not add up.
No.
They don't add up. When we take a deep look inside the reasons and we look at this thing with a critical lens and we analyze it, IBB's decision to cancel this election was not just about preventing chaos. It was about protecting powerful interests. Let's call it what it is. Number one, many of the military elites and power brokers did not want to leave power. A civilian president like Abiola could have exposed corruption within the military. Yeah. Some also feared that Abiola, being a strong businessman, could potentially reduce the influence of military-backed elites. That's on one side. On the second side, even though Abiola won in many northern states, many northern elites were not comfortable with the Yoruba Muslim becoming president at that time. There was this fear that he might not continue the patronage networks that benefited northern politicians. Number three, IBB was already losing popularity. If he had handed power to Abiola, there was a real possibility that Abiola's government would investigate past corruption under IBB's rule. This could have led to IBB possibly facing legal or political consequences. Then a side note is that there were some reports that foreign governments had interest in ensuring a weak Nigerian leadership, even though that one, I'll probably put that one lower than the first 3 points that I mentioned. Let's be very clear for our viewers. I mean, the videos are still on YouTube and other places you can check. This annulment threw Nigeria into chaos. There were protests everywhere. Thousands of pro-democracy activists took to the streets in different parts of the country. Right? And then the chain of events, IBB now said he was forced to step down. In August 1993, he stepped down to
step aside as a personal
step
sacrifice.
Aside.
I remember those words.
And then he handed over power to an interim government led by Shonakon. Abacha overthrew him, and Abiola was arrested in 1994 for declaring himself president. And unfortunately, this man who won this freest and fairest election in Nigeria's history remained in detention until his mysterious death in 1998. June 12 could have been the start of true democracy, not 1999, but IBB's decision set this country back by decades. Now, you asked me another question around the there's so much to talk about this. So I'm probably going to do a part 2 and a part 3 to this video. But ask me a question about the lavish IBB book launch and fundraising. My question was that a celebration or was that an insult? Was that a celebration or was that an insult? It was a grand spectacle. It was lavish, it was extravagant. Nigeria's political elite in all walks of life attended. Why is a man whose regime was filled with controversy being honored so extravagantly? Do you understand? Do you understand? How much of the donations at the fundraising event came from public money? Question number 2. Why do Nigerian elites continue to celebrate themselves while the country remains in crisis? Question number 3. In total, about 17 billion. My question is this. Knowing the rent-seeker approach and the way Nigeria's top echelon roll, was this really about honoring IBB's legacy? Or was it an elite networking event to keep the power circle intact?
That's an interesting question. That's a very interesting question. Yeah.
You see, there's so much, there's, like you said, starvation, poverty, high inflation, unemployment, insecurity, you name it. This display of wealth for this library, is it that there's a tone deafness going on?
Yeah.
People? Could it not have been toned down? Could it not have been toned down? Like Atedoputasai just said, it should have been in a somber mood.
Yes.
It should have been solemn. I was expecting
it should not have been a celebration.
I've not watched the whole thing, but I would imagine there would have been a 1 minute silence for MKO and probably 1 minute silence for Humphrey Wosu, or maybe not. I don't know. I didn't watch the whole thing. The money that they said they raised, like you said, you gave a great example of what that money could have been used for.
Yeah.
So just my own final thoughts.
I understand. I understand the monies were given to him for launch presidential library. Yeah, but correct. So you're saying your final thoughts.
So my final thought was, was this about reinforcing who really controls Nigeria? This display of power, this show of grandiosity, this rapid way they raise 17 billion naira. Should we be accepting this, or should we demand better as a people?
But what can we do about it? What can we do about it?
What can we do?
What can the common man do?
Will history ever hold IBB accountable, or will it remain untouchable?
No. Nigerians don't hold anybody accountable. Africans don't hold anybody accountable.
Yeah.
Didn't IBB refuse to show up to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that Baba OBJ didn't attend?
No.
Look, there will be no consequences. Here is the unpleasant truth that I say all the time here. Nigeria is a land of grave injustice. And June 12 is just another example, another egregious example of the insane levels of injustice that dominate our environment. There will be no justice for those people that died.
None. It's
None.
over.
None. Whereas if you go out and commit a crime, and in the course of committing a crime, somebody dies, you tend to wind up being charged with murder.
Because it led directly or indirectly
Yes.
to that person dying.
Yes. So there were deaths directly related to this issue. You don't
So,
get to
yeah,
launch a book and tell us that it was one man that's been dead for 3 decades.
how many years? Yeah, he can't defend himself. Yeah, Abacha can't defend himself. The people in Abacha's group, he didn't mention them. For me, this book does not do justice to the truth. Instead of fully admitting his role, yes, he said he took full responsibility, but there were half truths that were still presented in that same vein. But Nigerians will never forget.
Who
So,
held a
but
gun
guys,
to his head? Who held a
nobody.
gun to his head? Who were those
Who
people?
knows?
What did
Who
they
knows?
say to him? What was the threat? What was the price he had to pay? It was
Do you
either
think?
he said he did
Do you
it
think
for
his
the
life was in
country.
danger? Do you think his life was
So
in
let
danger?
him tell us. Let him tell us that, you know something, XYZ person brought me into a room and put a gun to my head.
To my head, yeah, yeah. People can understand that.
Because if you trace this thing down the line, you have the coup that General Dia and General Basanjo reportedly planned against Abacha as a direct consequence of this June 12th.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
So if they had gone ahead and killed Obasanjo and
Yadua.
Dia,
And Dia, sorry.
didn't Yadua die in prison in the course of that thing?
Yeah, he did. He did.
So everyone, Yemi and I have gone into this, and we probably will still go into this again. But I'd like to hear your questions. What do you think? Where do you stand on this debate? Do you think it was okay to celebrate? First of all, do you agree that they were celebrating IBB? Do you think it was okay to celebrate IBB? Do you think it was enough that he's apologized? Do you think we should let bygones be bygones and move on? Do you think his apology is sufficient? Please let us know what you think in the comments. And if you want to be part of this show, please, by all means, send us an email at twogrownmen@gmail.com. We're on Twitter at twogrownmen. We're on Instagram at twogrownmen. Or leave us a comment under this video and let us know what you think. And if you want to be part of this show, please, by all means, let us know. And we'll bring you on so you can hear your opinion. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
Yemi, all I want to say is thank you everyone for watching, and it's good night from me. Yemi?
Yeah, Lami said it all. Leave your comments. We're looking to hear your comments on this one, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you very much. Odaro. Kachifo.